Shall we?
We shall. All right, hit it up, Stephen.
Welcome to A Bit of Board Games, a casual podcast documenting the many failures and hopefully successes of Waffle Games, as we learn the ins and outs of board game design and self-publishing. Join us on this journey as we talk about a bit of life, a bit of design, and a bit of board games.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of A Bit of Board Games by Waffle Games. I am Stephen, the visual designer person dude who also designs the games.
And I'm Trevor. I'm the operations manager and also the designer of Waffle Games.
You design the company?
I design the entire company.
You design Waffle Games. I design Waffle Games' games.
That's fine as long as I get all the revenue.
Wait.
Yeah, you weren't thinking about that one, were you?
Crap. Today is May the 18th of the year 2022, and it is a Wednesday. And this is episode 10?
Are we double digits?
Double digits,
baby. Wait, I thought we were double digits last week. Or is it double digits this week?
This is 10.
Oh my goodness.
I think. I'm pretty sure.
Does that mean we're professionals now?
I think
we've done this 10 times.
I think we've made it, and we can retire on all of our podcast income.
Wow. That is awesome.
And we can retire in a cardboard box in an alley begging for food.
We can retire in our board game box that we haven't made yet.
We can't retire. We can just be tired.
We can be. I know you can be tired. You've be tired for a long time. That's what you get for having two kids.
I know, and I don't know if you can tell, my voice sounds a little different because I'm getting over this cold. Because kids are germ factories, so I'm just
germ factories.
it's true, man. They just because they just touch everything and put everything in their mouths, and they put their hands in their mouths after touching things. So if they're anywhere around other kids or anything, they will find the germs, and then they will get sick from them and then spread them to us, because then they sneeze in our faces.
Well, because they're germ factories.
Because they're germ factories, just spitting out germs all day, every day. All day. Germs all day. Oh, anyway, I know everyone's wondering about the donut birthday party from last weekend.
Yeah, tell us.
It was I couldn't think of a donut pun. It was a success. Now it just sounds lame, but it
was a hole-in-one donut.
Dang it!
I don't know. Is that all right?
It was a Nope, I got nothing.
Man, where's my brother Matthew when you need him?
I do not think it could have gone better.
Okay. That was a stretch, but you're a dad, so we'll let it slide.
Yeah, anyway, no, it went great. We went to a park, had donuts. A bunch of friends came. Kids ran amok, like I said they would. Some kids almost fell in this pond nearby where there's a bunch of ducks and stuff there. I think one of the moms there was literally just chasing one of her three kids the entire time. The youngest one was constantly playing by the pond and just leaning forward and almost falling in. Oh, it was great.
That's what I feel like, or at least that's how I imagine it being a parent getting together with other parents who have kids. It's basically just it's herding cats the entire time. Yeah. One dad's chasing one kid, a mom's chasing two other kids. There's one dad, sipping a cocktail in the corner, trying to, relax a little bit before it's his turn to chase the next kid.
Yeah. It was making small talk with meeting the people I didn't know. They're husbands of my wife's friends or something, and it's hey, yeah, how's it going? Oh, you're that person's dad. Oh, hang on, I'll be right back. I gotta do this. Gotta go make sure CC doesn't, jump off the edge of this place set. Or because we're the ones hosting, people are trying to talk to us, because they're here for CC and that's why they're here, so it's fun. But then we're like, oh, well, we got to make sure everyone has coffee and the donuts and the whatever, and like organizing all that while at the same time, like Cece kind of gets a little shy. So like she just wanted to be up with me the whole time.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. You're trying to host while herd the cats. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was a success, and it was a lot of fun. It was just good to be outside. So like,
yeah, for sure.
It went well. It was like, I think it was like 80 degrees or something. It was super nice out. So
yeah, take it in while you can. We live in Colorado, and guess what is about to hit us?
Winter storm.
Yeah, winter storm warning, everyone. So hunker down if you live here in Colorado. But
yeah, dude.
I just spent last podcast, I think, talking about how it's finally summer and I get to mow my lawn, and I'm really excited. And well, by tomorrow, I'm gonna have to go, the winterize the system is the word I was looking for my sprinklers. I'm gonna have to do that.
De-summarize it.
De-summarize it again, because I'm not kidding. It says right now, at least where I live, it's saying 5 to 8 inches of snow Friday night, and then 3 to 5 or something like that on Saturday day.
Oh my gosh,
so that just screams,
yeah, dude,
death
it's like
to my lawn and my flowers and everything that's been, that looks beautiful right now. Man.
It's gonna be 86 degrees tomorrow on Thursday from the day it is now. And then it's gonna be like it's gonna go down to like the 30s on Friday, be in the 20s on Saturday, and snowing, and like, man, it's gonna be nuts.
I'm supposed to be smoking ribs on Saturday. I'm not kidding. I planned this thing out to smoke some ribs, and
what's stopping you?
Nothing's stopping me.
You better
I'm just
still do it.
It's just I can't walk out in slippers anymore or sandals.
Not with that attitude.
Well, okay. You're not wrong, but my feet would be frozen if I walked out in a pile of snow, a foot of snow, trying to smoke some ribs.
I mean, yeah, it wouldn't be comfortable.
I'm gonna be that meme, where the dad's outside smoking, with my beanie on, and I'm trying to drink a drink that's frozen in my hand.
Yeah,
that's gonna be me.
That sounds like a great time.
Well, eventually it'll be like August and it'll actually stay warm, right?
Yeah, August. Then we're gonna start getting our first snow of the season.
First. So this weekend is gonna be the last snow this season, and then 1 month later it's gonna be the first snow this season.
That's what it feels like sometimes. But
it is.
But at the same time, like, we get random, as much as we're like, oh, it's cold and snowy randomly. Like, it's like 3 days where it's gonna be cold, and then it's gonna be 70s, 80s again. And like in December, January, like we get random days in like the 60s and even 70s occasionally. Yeah. So it balances out, but it's definitely like puts a wrench in things, just being so bipolar like that.
Oh, for sure. I was just down we went to Texas. My sister's graduating from college, and we went down and just south of Dallas. And man, I'll tell you what, it makes me feel super happy actually that I live in Colorado, especially during the summer, because it was high 90s and humid, and with the sun beating down, it's just like between every building you walk to, you feel like you have to take a new shower because all your clothes are sticking to you, So I can't complain too much, because I feel like summers in Colorado are generally pretty good. I'm looking forward to it actually being summer and getting past this whatever it is. But anyway,
yeah, dude. I don't think you were teaching at that time, but a couple years ago, before my kids were born, my wife was a elementary teacher, and they had a snow day like the week after Memorial Day weekend. So like this upcoming next weekend, I don't know, Memorial weekend is coming up, whenever that is, end of May, and like we had some snow come in a couple years ago. That week, and they had a snow day.
It was a June snow. I remember that.
Yeah, it was very beginning of June, and like schools were canceled because of the snow. Like, that's insane.
And like the last week, it's nutty for sure. But excited nonetheless. I'm ready to rock and roll for some fishing in summertime, but we'll get there soon.
Yeah, it'll be good.
All right, so tell us what we're talking about today.
Today's subject of the podcast is the games we like.
I didn't really plan that out.
So I don't know
You're our inspiration.
The inspiring designs of the games that are good.
Yeah.
Yep, there it is. Okay. No, we just thought we'd talk about, since we haven't, again, made a ton of progress on our game, we thought, we'd give some background. I don't know. Just some talk about some games that we like, and that might give you some insight as to like some of our inspiration and stuff.
Direction and all that.
Yeah, like not
Stay tuned though, by the way, if you are interested on our current board game stuff, we do have some news and updates to share with you, but we'll share that after this first segment. But anyway.
Yeah. So we've played a lot of games, a variety of styles, variety of genres, variety of mechanics.
We're obviously
like
passionate since we're making a board game.
Yeah, I mean, we love board games, and that's what inspired us to make games. And so there's some of like the games that I like now. I've definitely branched out into different kinds of games, but I still have like the certain ones that have always been like my absolute favorite genres or favorite types of games to play. And then I found myself when I first started designing games kind of, taking inspiration from those, like, oh, I'm going to make my own version of this game, was like kind of my thought. So like one of my first games that I ever designed, it was like a mix of like Magic the Gathering, Pokemon, something like that, like a trading card game, because like I didn't know how to design games, and I'm like, I always loved like monsters and creatures and things like that too.
I don't think I knew that about you.
Yeah, I'm pretty great. So I don't know why that's an indicator of me being great, but we're just gonna roll with it. So
just trust him.
Yeah, just don't worry about it. So like the first like game that I like really started trying to make on my own, like I've had things we messed around with, made other ideas, whatever, but this is one like I made like a Google Doc and had like a story written out, and like gameplay and how it was all going to work. And essentially it was, you were trying to become like the dark wizard or whatever, and so you were interested in magic and trying to become like the most powerful dark wizard. So trying to like do like a take on like an anti-hero type thing, and your goal is to become like the most powerful evil wizard sort of. And so through the game, actually, like, you have monsters and stuff that you'd play, but the core of the game was like you had this soul gem, and the game was based around this soul gem. The title was Necro Monsters, so like necromancy, like raising from the dead, because they were these like meteors that fell down, that's like things splintered off of them, and like the power radiated from them caused like undead creatures to come about, and like to raise from the dead, creatures to raise from the dead. And then the soul gems could like capture the souls of these creatures, and then you'd have like a certain amount of like life force in the soul gem, and you'd use those points to then like summon monsters that you've captured, was like the idea. So it was like Magic the Gathering, where you'd have your deck of cards, you draw your hand, and then you could choose to play cards from your hands, but to play it you had to like use your life force, your resource of your life there, to summon them. And so then you had to like kind of weigh, do I want to have some big hitters that cost a lot of my life, like my life force here, that could do really well, but then like that's putting me in a more vulnerable position, or you do a bunch of weaker ones that could, doesn't cost as much, but like won't do as much damage either. So that was kind of the idea there, because I loved, like growing up I collected like Pokemon cards, and I love the collecting aspect. I only remember actually playing the card game a couple of times, but
it's at that age especially, it's definitely more about the collecting and like acquiring the cool new ones. I get it.
Yeah, but I've played a lot of Magic since then. So I think I played a little bit of Magic when I was designing that game, and so I'm like, oh, this is awesome. Like I want to dive into that. So and I did like some Hearthstone and some other, like I did a lot of research on those. So I just downloaded a ton of different like card games, like CCG, TCG, like games and apps and things, and just like played through just like test out a bunch of stuff. And so yeah, there's a lot of things that I was messing around with in that realm. But that was kind of hard. Like I even actually had my friend do some art for me, and like I had like the card designs like mocked up, and had him like create a few creatures for me, and like it was pretty sweet. And I still have those files saved somewhere, so maybe I'll have to try to use those creatures for something else.
Yeah, you have to dig that up
in the future. But yeah,
super cool.
So that was from those games. And then one other one that I like really dove into was after playing a lot of Betrayal at House on the Hill, which I think we've mentioned before is like one of the games that like really got me into this. Like Trevor and I and some other friends, we started playing that game like some Christmas after you got it, and then we played it like multiple like games and like multiple times a week.
Yeah, we really did.
It was really fun, and just like I like the cooperative aspect of like part of the game, or at least for some of the game, and then like also like the exploration and the randomized map and stuff like that. So I started designing like a fantasy one. I think I was calling it Shroud at the time, but it was like tile based. You'd go through to like this fantasy like forest biome area, but there's like different like acts you had to go through, and it was fully cooperative. And then so you'd have to like find the exit to the next stage, the next act, and then there'd be like quests and side quests and like stuff like that. There were a lot of things I had with it, but I had a lot of fun designing that. But like if I look back at it now, there are some elements that were just straight ripped out of Betrayal. Like you go to this tile and like you gain a buff in a certain attribute point or something, or a boost at a point. I'm like, that's exactly what some of the tiles in Betrayal did. So some of the early designs, what is it? What does Dwight say? Or what does Dwight say in The Office? Like, imitation is the most sincere form of flattery or something.
Yeah.
And like that's how you learn this to get better, is by kind of mimicking stuff. Even with like art, people say just try to copy like someone's art, and like just by trying to recreate what they've done, you'll learn in the process. On like how to do certain things. So
for sure.
Anyway,
before the podcast, you had also mentioned the dinosaur game. I forget the title.
Yeah, your favorite game.
Yeah, what is it called?
Dinosaur Island.
Island, yeah.
Yeah, so those were just a couple of the ones that inspired me to make other games. But another game that I really like is Dinosaur Island, which is a worker placement game, essentially where you're building out your own Jurassic Park type thing, where you assign your scientists to do certain things. You get DNA, you can create dinosaurs, but you have to maintain a certain security level in your park, otherwise all your visitors get eaten. So there's some strategy involved in that, and it's just kind of a fun theme, I think. But Trevor has his opinions on that game.
I'll tell you what. I think at a base level, that game is fun. Out of all the games that I would play, that I've played in my life, I'd probably rate it like somewhere 5 or 6. Like, it's not horrible, but I'll just a quick couple things why I don't like it, but we'll move on to some of the other games I do like. Dinosaur Island has way too many components. We can start there. After opening the game for the first time and punching out all the pieces and taking it, I cannot for the life of me get the box to close all the way ever again. I cannot figure out the order in which things are supposed to go. That just at a fundamental level just irritates the heck out of me. So that's not a reason why I hate the game, but it is definitely a poor design feature. Either I'm an idiot or the designers just didn't leave enough room. I'd like to think it's the second, but that just frustrates me beyond anything else. The second thing is that I think that I just have a hard time with the way that the game plays out, I guess, in the sense that if I have my eye on a certain dinosaur that I want to build, and then somebody, because maybe we're playing with 4 people, somebody takes that dinosaur right before it's my turn, and because you all do it kind of in sequence, if someone takes that dinosaur right before my turn, I've been, as individually been planning out my entire round, not just round, but it kind of plays. There's rounds, but then there's like like an overarching round too. And so
there's like phases of each round.
Yeah, thank you. Phases in each round, and there's multiple phases in each round, and the picking of the dinosaurs is one of the phases. And so I plan my entire round around which dinosaur I plan on picking up. And if someone picks that dinosaur or does something else right before it gets to me, I now have to change my entire trajectory in a second and rethink all these different aspects and elements about how I'm going to do this thing. And it's just, and I get it. I get that the game is supposed to be that way. You're supposed to, be able to turn on the fly, but it just, the fact that it's instantaneous and you got to quickly figure out what you're going to do in response, and you don't have much time to plan it out, it just kind of doesn't sit with me right for whatever
Trevor
reason.
knows what he wants.
I know what I'm a man that knows what I want. Yeah. But here, let me tell you the games that I do like, unless you had more that you wanted to touch on.
No, that's it. That was kind of one of my favorite games there.
Dinosaur Island. Yeah.
Maybe. I also haven't played it in a long time now.
I can see why people like it. I really do. Yeah. It's a fun game at the core. It's just there's a couple things about it that irk me the wrong way. Okay, so I'm going to touch on maybe 3, maybe 4 different games quickly here. And you'll see kind of a theme as I touch through them, and they aren't all board games. The first of which is Gloomhaven. I don't know if you guys have heard of it or not, but if you haven't, you should definitely check it out. I think it was rated #1 game last year or the year before. It's
for like a long time it was #1.
Okay. So it definitely has passed the test of time in regards to that, and it's just an exceedingly fun game. And as I talk more about these games, you're gonna really see the nerd come out of me, because you're gonna go, man, that's a nerd game. But Gloomhaven is a game for nerds. This isn't a light game that you're gonna pick up with some family members who like Sorry or Monopoly. This is a game that they're really going to need to invest a little bit of time and energy into in order to understand what's happening. It's a turn-based game. It's a cooperative game. I do like that aspect of it. I like cooperative games when they're difficult and they have that RPG element to them, the role-playing aspects to them. I really appreciate the way that they manage that. And there's this across the board with all the games I play, I really love the role-playing ownership of a character. And that's something that you really get with Gloomhaven. You really get the sense that you have a character, you really get to pick what abilities you're going to use, how they're going to be played, how you're either going to use them offensively or defensively to help your team. You get to decide that, and I love that about the game. And then as you level up, you get new abilities, you get to try new techniques, new strategies. Super fun. Love that game. The second game I wanted to talk about is D&D, Dungeons and Dragons. Not a board game, and I know that a lot of you guys are out there right now are going, man, this guy is a nerd. It's true. But
I mean, if you're listening to our podcast about making board games, you have to be a nerd at some level. So this shouldn't be that surprising. Totally also, I just wanted to say Gloomhaven is still listed as the #1 ranked game on Board Game Geek.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
And it came out in 2017 originally.
Yeah, it's incredible how well that thing is still standing up there strong. Yeah. The playership, everything about it is just top notch. But anyways, and you know what? Going back to D&D, I have friends all across the spectrum, from high school, from college, and it is just so funny to hear these days how many of my friends, whether they were a jock or nerd, just normal person, play D&D. It's crazy. And I think of a lot of it has to do with just the fact that it brings people together in a way that allows you to just hang out, eat some junk food, drink some, some whatever, and hang out with the guys or the girls, and it's, that's a super fun thing I like about D&D. But it's the role-playing part. I really love ownership of a character, and developing a character and building out their story. Love it. And because of that leads me to my last game that I'll really touch on, which is World of Warcraft. That game, wow. I've played, just wow. Just wow. You got to do the WW on the side of your mouth as you say it.
Wow. I did it in case you were.
Thank you.
Just
I wish I had a camera
picture in your head.
Yeah. but it is a game that I've played since middle school, high school, kind of all the way through life. Honestly, I've just kind of picked up and dropped off just random places, and it is it again. It has that ability to allow a player to do what they want to do and play a type of class or race or whatever that they, what do you want to be? A clothy, a leather wear, a leather wear, do you want to cast spells? Do you want to hit with sword and board? I just really love the feel to be able to make a character your own, and that's been just a theme throughout my entire life that I really have appreciated and I really enjoy still as an adult. It's something that keeps me coming back to these sorts of games. But
yeah, I agree too. I just mentioned some games that these aren't like the games I mentioned aren't even like I love these games, but they're games that inspired me for some of my other designs and things, and like ones that I've played a decent amount in. But like I've honestly like we talked about before, like we haven't been into board games for a long time. It's been like, I mean, maybe like 5-6 years at this point. So a decent time, but like my main inspiration has always been video games, and because I played so many video games in my life, and like my all-time favorite is still Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time, and it's just like that adventure that you go on, that sense of adventure and exploration, and like unlocking items and finding collectibles and secrets and things like that. I love that aspect of things too.
For sure. That is a crazy, awesome, fun part about role-playing games too. Dungeons and Dragons, WoW, whatever. Like getting items, loot. Come on. There's a rush when you get that item that you've been wanting for so long, or something drops that you weren't even aware existed, and everyone goes, "Whoa, what's that?" That sort of that is still to this day gives me an adrenaline boost.
Okay, so kind of in that same vein, but okay, have you heard of a genre of books called literary RPGs?
No, I have not.
Okay, so they're awesome. One of my friends got me into them, and the first series I read was called The Land, but we're not gonna talk about that one right now. It was really good, but right now I've been listening to the audiobooks of this series called He Who Fights with Monsters, and it's like a fantasy thing where like this guy gets pulled into this other world, and the way he gets like these special abilities because of like being this certain race called an outworlder, because he's pulled in, and one of these abilities is helping him, like giving him ways to interact with the world, this new world, in a way that he's familiar with. And so it kind of applies this like user interface, this inventory system and stuff that he has like actually in this world, but he has like an interface that he sees that no one else can see as he's in this world. And like this world has like different classes and races and things that you can like level up and get magic abilities and get different spells and things like that. And so, but the really interesting thing on how these like lit RPG books go, it's like going through an RPG but following one character and following that character's actions. Like this character like is in there and they're like, oh, like they just got this experience from killing this monster, they got this quest, got this loot. And it's really interesting, some of the authors, how they do this, because it's like you get the loot and like they read through the stats of the loot, and or like you read through it if you're reading the physical version.
Interesting.
But yeah, it's like, oh, like you kill this monster, you get this item that does like this crazy thing. So it has that kind of that same effect I've found, because you're like, oh shoot, like this dude just got this sick new ability, or this sword that like does something crazy. But it's like
so interesting.
It's super interesting because it's tailored, obviously, like because the author wrote this for this character's perspective. So like a lot of the stuff that this character will get is like tailored to how they built that character, how they created that character's abilities and their personality and their style. And so like they're not going to just get like crap loot all the time. Like they're somewhat more likely to get things that will benefit them but are just like awesome. And so like they get this thing, they're reading the stats or like whatever it is, and you're just like, oh gosh, like that's insane. And so it's just like I've been so hooked into this into this book recently, just like listening to the audiobook like every second I get.
That's awesome. That's really cool.
Yeah, so I'll have to
I'll have to check it out.
send you that link. Yeah, especially if you listen to audiobooks, like the narrator's really good. But anyway, that was just like a random thing that made me think of that. It's kind of has the same effect of it's not quite the same, because it's not like you're waiting for a certain loot drop and then you finally get it. It's not the same kind of thing, but like it gives a good sense of that. And like,
I think it's the same reason why people are engage in the podcast, or I don't know if you call it podcast, but Critical Role.
Oh yeah, true.
You know,
it's
with
same
Matt Mercer, same sort of thing, where they're playing Dungeons and Dragons, but why are all these people watching them play Dungeons and Dragons? It's that same sort of reason, right? You know, everyone's really excited about, you know, the way that they decide to play a character and the different loot that they get, and the stories are just so interesting and exciting. And absolutely.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Come on, who wouldn't be into something like that?
Yeah,
that's so cool.
Yeah. Anyway, with some of my inspiration, like most of my inspiration being from video games, an interesting thing that I'm always trying to think about is like, how do I create similar experiences or similar types of things? Like, how do I create that experience in a board game? And it's really hard to do. Like, you can't. It's really hard to have, unless you have like
to get that feeling.
Yeah, unless you have like Gloomhaven, where it's like this sprawling campaign and like you unlock new locations and quests and things like that. Like,
everything's new every time you play. You don't ever repeat the same thing. Your experience is different. The story keeps expanding. There's always new loot. I think that's something that Gloomhaven's definitely tapped into very well.
But so I'm like, I love the finding secrets and collectibles and like in games, but I have not thought of a good way in any kind of like lighter-ish weight game to like, how do you get that feeling of like finding secrets or like hunting collectibles? So I don't know, that's just something I'm thinking about that I like.
That's great.
Or like
that's
certain challenges that unlock things. There's just I think
something
it'd be really cool.
new, a new level to get to, you know,
yeah.
something different to explore. I think exploration's a big part. Yeah, absolutely. I agree. And I think, you know what, Stephen, I think you're touching on something that we want to hit eventually with our games. I think we really do want to kind of go in that direction with a lot of the stuff we're thinking about. And
how do we gamify board games?
Yeah. Unfortunately, though, we're starting with something simple so that we can get our, you know, our feet wet and get the experience under our belt. But you're really hitting at the core of what we want to be able to accomplish down the road. And so it just makes me even that much more excited to get work done. Which,
for sure.
By the way, let's talk about it. Let's talk about kind of what we're planning over the next little bit here. I don't really think we have a timeline set, but maybe let's talk about some of the things we're planning out.
Yeah, I think we're kind of at our time limit, but just real quick.
Let's hit it quick.
So next week, before we record, we are going to like plan out all of the components that we need to get together for a playtest. And so between now and then, you know, we're going to kind of finalize some of the ideas we have for like some of the blueprint cards and have them listed out. And then, but also like how many, you know, scrap tokens do we need? You know, what kind of dice do we need for other aspects? You know, what other cards do we need to play test? And so we're just going to get like all of the basics of the game listed out of like, hey, this is all the things we need to play test this game in the form that we have in our heads and written down, and then try everything all together. It's probably going to be terrible, but it'll give us an idea of all the different aspects of it, and then we can start kind of like honing in on certain specifics in different areas. So next week we're going to kind of plan out one is a time for the following week to play test stuff, and then two, you know, what we need to have ready to play test that, so when we get to it we can just like dive right in.
Absolutely. Yeah, time is precious, so we want to make sure that when we finally get together to do our first play test, that we have all the pieces in place to really make it as valuable as we can and get through as many different components of the game as we can in one sitting. Spoiler, by the way, we were planning on either doing an additional sort of podcast along with that play test, or maybe even videoing it. We'll see how ambitious we get, but something to look forward to for you guys who are interested in the development of the game. That might be something that you can check out here somewhat soon. So yeah, that'll
be fun. All right. Well, I think that is going to be it for real this time. If you guys want to follow this, our progress on things, I tell them to follow social stuff every time. I haven't posted in a long time.
Oh, good. We'll start getting more stuff out there.
Once we have stuff to show, I'll do that. But yeah, at Waffle Games for all the socials, and check out our website at bitwafflegames.com, where you'll find a link to our Discord, where we'd be happy to chat with you guys if you want, or if you answer any questions.
Definitely.
Have any questions you want us to talk about in the podcast, we can do that too. So yeah, that's it. And thanks again for joining us today, guys, and we'll see you next time.
Yep. See you guys.
Bye.